Hi everyone, this video is about how to give your car a little bit more pep. It's a cheap tuning chip, one you can all make very easily. Some cars it works fine in, others not, it doesn't do too much, but it's still worth it for a fiver. I've found it works fine in mine and does give it a little bit more pep. The video is going to be split in two parts. The first part, how to make the little tuning chip, and the second part, where to fit it exactly on your car. Okay, so I'll just show you the parts you want first of all. Here we are, I've got them on the table here. I've got some little labels I've made up to go on the box. You will need a little pattern box for it to go in. Okay, these are all mapped in parts, by the way. There's a little knob to go on this variable pot here. Okay, this is a 10k pot, okay, and this is a 220 ohm resistor and a bit of cable basically, and what you'll end up with, this is one ready built, is one of these. I've stuck this on. A friend of mine used to make these and sell them on eBay, and I've took over from him now, so I'm making some myself. I do sell some of these on eBay now and again, but I mainly make them for friends and that want one. So basically for about a £5 note, I would say you could make yourself one of these chips and give your car a bit more oomph. So without further ado, we'll take you to the soldering board and show you how we're going to wire these up. Right, well, first things first, I will just show you the drawing of the circuit. For all those of you that understand circuits, you can see exactly how that's going there with the variable resistor, you know, without in and outs. Because basically this thing wires up to the IOUT on your car, and it's a fairly simple arrangement, as you can see. You'll get lots of these things on eBay, and basically all they sell you is a resistor, but nothing like this. This is a bit more of a variable version, so you can actually vary the power gain or loss or against economy. It's up to you, but that's the basic schematic. Okay, but we'll get down to actually making the thing now. Okay, next part of the operation is the making of it, and here we are. Here's our little box we got from old Maplins there. Now one of the first things you want to do is to put a hole in the box through the side for our wire, so we're going to do that first of all. I have a drill here and I'm going to pop that hole through there. No need to show you that part, so we'll further ado, we'll push on. Okay, next thing is to just get a ruler and a pencil and just draw a line to each corner, because now we're going to put a hole through here, and this is to fit the pot. Okay, that's going to come through the middle there, so easiest way, just a line, and we can rub those pencil lines out afterwards. So we'll drill a hole through there now. Right, the next step is to bolt your pot through the case there. Okay, I'll do mine through there. You can, if you want to do it through the lid, and it's probably easier to solder all the wires on, but I actually prefer to have it on the base and wire them inside, because you can get the bottom off and sort things easy. They'll all be there. Okay, so we've got that in. I've stuck a little label on mine, EcoBoost label, which gives you the indentation, so you know where you're going to set the pot, so you can vary it as and when, to whether you think you're getting more boost or less, or more economy or less. So I've stuck a little label on mine, quite easy to make. You can make something up yourself. Okay, so the next thing is this is now a little bit too long, as you can see, for the knob to go on, so now I've got to cut that down. Okay, so we get a junior hacksaw now, we're going to cut that off. Right, now that the pot's cut, we can stick our knob on if you want, and it should slide over and fit down a bit flush, which it does now. And we'll screw that up. It's got a little screw there, tighten in place to get it on the right marks, and that little bit of the job is done. So we take that off and I'll screw that second. We'll have that on. That is roughly about the amount to saw off. So here's the back side of our pot inside the box. Okay, now what I like to do really before I do any soldering, I like to tin the ends so that I know where I'm going with the thing. So I'll always tend to tin up, which is just to tin the ends of the metal really with solder, so that when your wire goes on, it pretty much will take to it straight away. It's called tinning. It's just a application just to tin up the cables way the ends of the fittings there, so that it's ready to take your wires. Okay, the first thing that goes on is your resistor. Okay, which is the way I like to do it, and this is our resistor here, and I'm going to solder that onto here in a second. I'm going to cut that down and solder it on. Well, I've managed to dig out my little holder here, which is a very handy device. I don't expect you to have one of these. You probably need a friend to hold whatever you need to do. Here's our resistor. Once again, I like to tin the end of the resistor. Just put a little bit of solder on there, and it does make it easier to solder onto the joints in there. Okay, so this goes on one end there, okay, on that particular joint there. So I'll get that on there and we'll tin him on. It's a little bit awkward because we're working inside the box, so if you do it on the lid it's probably easier, but say this is the way I like to do them. And get him on there. I'm probably going to need my glasses. It's a bit awkward trying to show you this as well. There we are, she's took anyway. That's that bit. That's a bit of the resistor on. Our wire is going to go on to the end of that, so we're going to cut that shorter there, like so. And once again we're going to tin the end of that up. Okay, so it's tinned, and then our piece of wire, our positive end, which will be the black line, is going to go on there in a second, so I'll cut that back. Ready? Okay, here's the wires that are going to go through, and this is our length of cable. Again, I like to tin these wires before you get to any connection, so I'm going to try and show you on hand to tin them. To get your solder near the wire there, be careful not to burn your fingers, and you can see it tinning along the cable there. Okay, and just do the same with the other one, get it twisted round. It's a bit awkward. It does help if you've got someone hold the wire for you, but there we are, that one's tinned as well now. And that's our wires tinned, which makes life a lot easier for when we put our connection through. But before you go just sticking it on, don't forget it's got to go through the hole at the back first, so we're going to do that first. Now, before I go soldering this cable on to this end of this resistor here, one of the first things you've got to do, probably before you put these wires through, is to solder a link across these two terminals here. Okay, we're going to have a link of wire across there. It's a little bit awkward, could probably better be done outside the pot because it can be done first off, but I'll solder a little link across there first. What I decided to do in the end, I haven't made one of these for ages, is to solder the resistor across those two terminals. So the centre terminal and the outer one is soldered across by the resistor, and the resistor's hanging out now ready for our wire to go on. It was the easiest option. Right, well, as you can see, this one's now soldered on there. Okay, one thing to be careful of, don't do what I've just done. I've just caught the side of this box with the soldering iron, and it does make a little indent in it there. Be careful not to do that. Alright, once this is soldered on, we'll tape this round with a little bit of tape to stop it connecting with anything, okay? And then we've just got to get this one onto that tag over there. Right, that one's now soldered on our other tag over the other side of the pot. All we've got to do now is just put some insulation tape around there now and put that back on. Well, there we are, there's the finished module and the inside of it there. As I say, don't burn the case like I've done there. Probably just as well to show you the mishaps that can happen. I don't normally do this, but as usual, showing you, it was a bit awkward to try and do it with the camera as well, so I have. But never mind, they don't normally come up like that, they're normally pretty good. The lead's on, the connection's across, and our wire's out. All we've got to do now, basically, is fit it to the car, which is going to be the next stage. One last thing before fitting, if you had one of these, you can check your little box is going to work, okay, because we can test it with the two wires. I've soldered the ends of the wires, tinned them up. You'll see why later when I fit them to the car like that. And if you get your two cables off your little ohm tester and put it on the cables, you'll see that the needle's flicking up there, so we know we've got virtually no resistance there on the minimum setting of our box. If you have a look at our box there, you'll see that it's on minimum. If you pull the camera out, yeah, you'll see it's on the minimum setting. And now as I turn the box round, you should see the gauge move into position and drop. There you go. You can see the resistance is being varied. Okay, so we know that box is working. We can see that our knob is doing its tricks. Okay, there's no resistance, and as we turn the knob, you can see that it is gradually increasing. So we know it's all ready and working. Now, as I said before, we're going to go and fit it to the car. Welcome along to the second part of fitting the tuning chip. This particular car is a Renault. And I'm going to show you where exactly it goes. I'll show you the schematic as well indoors before I go too far. I know it looks a bit daunting when you look at this, but I will show you that first. Yeah, before we go back down to the car, I just want to show you exactly where this connection goes, and it's called the IAT, okay, and it goes on the air intake tube. On there somewhere will be a little connector like this, okay, we're going to ping off, and we're going to put our resistor wires into this thing. So it's not too bad, we just got to locate that, and it's always on the air intake somewhere. Alright, there's basically how it goes. Once the cable's off, the two connectors go in, but I will show you that on the car in a second. There's another picture here, that's with the thing mounted on the board. So we'll go down to the car again now, and we'll locate the connectors. Okay, here we have the Renault. This is a diesel Renault, and our next problem which you may come across, and this is probably well worth checking first, is whether you do have an IAT sensor with just the two connectors. Now on this one I haven't, and what it has got is the engine coolant temperature sensor, and it's always located next to the air filter there, and if you've only got that like I've got here, it's going to be a bit more difficult to fit your box in, because without the IAT sensor you've got all these wires to choose from, and it's got to go into two of those. Now they'll need cutting, and the soldered the wires to the right two cables, so the only way you can do that now is if you've got a Haynes manual and you know which two they're going to be. So I'm afraid if you've got this arrangement, and I think probably now in hindsight it's probably best to have a look at your car first, to see if you've got the IAT temperature sensor, because if you haven't, you've got this, it's a lot more difficult to actually fit it. Alright, it will work off of that, but it's best to work off the IAT sensor. If I show you the IAT sensor again, it's that on the manual there, my friend's book. I've had these on petrol cars, I must admit it always worked, they always got the sensor, so maybe it's a thing with diesels that you don't have the sensor, no IAT sensor, but what you get is the map instead. And I think, you know, if you've got this, if you want to still carry on, you can get the manual and find out which of those two cables you've got to cut to connect the resistor box into. But I think I'll leave it there with that one. But if you've got the IAT, I think you're away and can do it. So £5 would get you a box and a bit more boost. So personally, on my other cars I fitted it to, it's been very good and worked, but I haven't actually ever fitted it to one of those sensors before. I mean, if you don't want to make one up, I sell them, you know, I usually charge £10 an hour. I take an hour to make, so I charge for 15 quid just to make one and sell it on. I do sell the odd ones, mainly to friends who want a bit more boost to low engine cars. This is a 2 litre diesel, I mean, I don't need that on there, there's plenty of them for me, but we're talking about smaller cars that need a bit more go. So it does work. So but I think before you even make this thing up, have a look at your car and see if you have got the IAT sensor. Once again, it's there, and you can see on that picture where it is. It's out. Follow your air intake. Okay, so just follow the air intake out of your engine and follow it round and see if you've got this arrangement. It's going to be a lot more difficult to fit it, okay, but if you've not, and most cars, especially if it's petrol, won't have, you'll have the IAT sensor, which makes it a lot easier. So there we are. That's it. That's making up a cheap as chips, I like it, tuning module for your car. Give yourself a little bit more push and boost, and plus the beauty is you can vary it. I mean, I'll just show you how I normally had it on one of my other little cars, and I did fit this on my daughter's car, and it definitely improved a little 1100 car. It was made quite a big improvement. But I used to just put a sticky tab on this thing and just peel the tab off and stick it down. Usually stick it up here somewhere and sew it and solder it on, so it'd be stuck there like so, and the wires would be pushed into our connector, okay, and it would be stuck with a double-sided sticky, and then you can just mess about with this, just keep varying it and setting it until it's right for you. When it's right for you, that's it, leave it. Or you can run it inside the cab through the firewall, put it on your dashboard, and of course then you've got variation. You can do the whole sort of tuning thing from inside the car then, because once you're inside, if you do manage to get this through your firewall, it's quite easy obviously to stick it somewhere like so, you know, anywhere you want on the car, and just stick it on with the wire running neatly tucked away somewhere, and just adjust it as you go along and see if you can feel the boost. Usually economy is to the left, gives you a little bit more, it burns a little bit more leaner and you get a bit more miles to the gallon, but if you want a bit more boost, turn it to the right, and you should get a bit more out of it, but obviously you lose a little bit more in fuel. So that boost is down to you, what you want from it. There you are, that's it. I won't talk no more. Thanks very much for watching all my videos. Darren33. Thanks for watching.